What's up, guys? Welcome back to DCA. So what I want to do in this video is take a look at Bitcoin, where we're sitting at right now, as we've moved all the way up to around $21,800. And in fact, earlier this evening, we were at $22,000. So I want to look at where we're at, what the health of the network is, and sort of what's going on in the market and what we may expect going forward. So everyone wants to know, is this the rally that takes us to new all-time highs? Or are we kind of just in a, one of these fake rallies where the price gets rejected and we head back down to new lows? So first things first, we came down to around $17,500 back here on June 22nd. So that's going to be critical to what we talk about tonight because, just prior to that, we were much higher. We came all the way from around $32,000, all right? Right at the kind of the middle of June. So we had that huge crash from 32K all the way down to 17.6. And, since that time, we're up around 25%. And in fact, just in the last few days, if we look here, we're up around 17%. So not bad, but, nothing spectacular, nothing to really write home about. So what I want to look at is starting with this right here. We are going to look at the number of addresses which are holding Bitcoin, and we're going to look at these stratified by different levels. So we're going to look at 0.1 Bitcoin, we're going to look at 10 Bitcoin, and then finally we're going to look at these addresses holding at least 100 Bitcoin. Because I think that these can tell us a lot about what's going on, and then, they'll help us determine whether does this rally actually have some legs to it, or is this sort of a fake out? So we're going to start by looking at these addresses holding 0.1 Bitcoin. Now, these can be addresses holding anywhere from 0.1 Bitcoin up to infinity Bitcoin. So, 21 million really, because it isn't saying anything about what the total size of the wallet is. It's only saying that they have 0.1 Bitcoin. And, the long and short of what I want to get at here is, we could spend a lot of time talking about sort of how these smaller wallets react to the market in particular situations. But what I want to focus on is just kind of two things. So the first thing is this. If we look at where we're at right now, okay, if we look at ever since the price really started to crash as we were going from up here at around 40K all the way down to, where we were at right here at around 32K all the way down to 17K. Ever since that crash, kind of in the the beginning of June, we have seen that the number of wallets holding at least 0.1 Bitcoin has grown at an exceptional rate. In fact, we have not really seen the rate of wallets holding this many Bitcoin grow this quickly pretty much any time in recent history. So if you just look at the slope of this line here, we've gone from, we could just bring this out and you can see that no other time really compares to how quickly wallets are acquiring Bitcoin right now. And let me just say this. I want to say two quick things here. I'm not telling you this to sort of elicit a feeling of hopium in you, because quite frankly, you need to be realistic about what's going on right now. There is a ton of uncertainty in the general market right now. Things may be starting to show some positive signs, or at least like the markets have sort of priced in some of the downside risk. That may be true. But when things are kind of, precarious like they are right now, positive looking price action can rapidly turn on you and can, just plummet from where we're at right now. So what I'm showing you right now, it's going, there's going to be some positive news that I'm about to show in this video, but I want you to keep the bigger picture in perspective. And that is the fact that, hell, I don't know, we could go to new all-time highs within the next 2 months. That's always possible. But I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think that's going to happen. What I'm showing you here in this video, I kind of think that this tends to be the thing that sort of leads to a longer accumulation period or a consolidation period, and not necessarily a rapid increase in the price of Bitcoin. Okay, so I want you to just keep that in mind when we're going through this, because some of these things are going to look bullish, and quite frankly, I think that they are bullish. But like I often say, they are long-term bullish, not short-term bullish. I am not here to predict anything in the short term for you. I don't care about the short term. I don't think about the short term. The short term has no bearing on any of the decisions I make. All right. And I think that that is kind of a way that people need to stop thinking about these markets is in the short term. These people out here trying to tell you that, oh, I'm looking at these trading signals in the short term. It's all bullcrap. And I guarantee that if you followed their trades to a T, you would see the fact that over time, I'm not going to say that no one can profit doing that, but over time, if you are a long-term investor in the cryptocurrency asset class, you are going to beat the socks off of anyone who's attempting to make money in these markets by short-term trading. And I truly believe that. I'm saying this because I want people to have a healthy appreciation for the fact that what I'm showing right now looks bullish, but I'm not telling you that we're going to the moon. I'm telling you that in the long term, when we see accumulation like this, it tends to be a longer term bullish sign. Okay, so with that said, we are seeing accumulation of Bitcoin by these smaller wallets at rates which we typically have not seen before. Okay, so you can just tell that by looking at the slope. If we just look back to around, if we look here at June 9th, and the number of wallets at that time was right at around 3.53 million wallets, right? And so right now, just a month later, we're sitting at around 3.7 million wallets. So in that short amount of time, just a few days, really just a month, right? We have seen an increase of almost 170,000 wallets holding 0.1 Bitcoin. All right, so that may not sound like a lot as a percentage of the total number of wallets, but you have to imagine that's in a very few number of days. And if we just look at the rates of accumulation in the past, this is much higher than any other time that we've seen. Now what I want to do is cut over to this metric. And I think that this is very likely to be the more important metric. So I'm going to bring in the chart all the way through the 2018 cycle. And I want to show you something here. So this to me is what is important. The addresses holding greater than 10 Bitcoin. These tend to be somewhat higher net worth investors. And we've seen that in the past, these investors have reacted in a different way than the smaller investors have. Okay, so when we just look at this, these guys were accumulating basically all through the bear market. So in this bear market, you saw that there were huge rates of accumulation, all right, as we were coming actually into the more bullish segment of the market. So we bottomed out in 2015, we kind of consolidated for a bit, and then we started to come up in 2016, all right? And these guys pretty much accumulated all the way through right around here. You'll notice that these wallets start to drop off kind of right near the top, right? So we're talking from 20K all the way down to around 7K or so. So we saw that these larger wallets then really dropped off at that time. Okay, so what we saw with the shorter term wallets, and I'll just bring those in for you. You saw that these shorter term wallets, where did they actually stop accumulating at? And they stopped accumulating well after the peak occurred. In fact, you saw that their highest rate of accumulation was kind of right here. It was kind of right when we were at right at around $16,000. Okay, 16 or 17K. All right, so they were continuing to acquire at huge rates, basically into the crash. So it's kind of retrospective that it was the crash, but we can see now that they were continuing to acquire after the price had already hit 20K, whereas these larger net worth investors, they were kind of dumping at that time. All right, so let's see what they're doing right now. Well, these wallets, just like they did back in 2018, we can see right here, they started to kind of dump the asset right around here. So they started dumping at the end of November of 2020, right? They were dumping, and they basically did that all the way through, they were decreasing their holdings basically all the way through to around here until May, right? Then they started to acquire some as we got down to around 30K into the low 30Ks. And that led us into this this move up, right? Up to around 69K. And then they started to dump again in December. So we saw a huge decrease in the number of wallets holding 10 or more Bitcoin from December until around February. And now you'll notice that we're going to zoom in here. In February, what did they start doing? They've been acquiring. But importantly, just like we saw with the smaller wallets, notice this rate of accumulation ever since that we've got down here to around 20K. They have been rapidly accumulating. So we've seen a significant increase in the number of wallets, right? So we've gone from right at around 147,000 wallets holding 10 or more Bitcoin up to around 149,000 plus wallets. All right. So 2,000 wallets holding 10 or more Bitcoin increase just in the last couple of weeks. And again, that may not sound like a huge amount, but you have to imagine that, it's almost a, what, 1.5% increase in the number of wallets holding that many Bitcoin in only a few weeks. So it's not an insignificant rate of accumulation, but we are importantly seeing that they are now increasing their accumulation of Bitcoin as we're at these lower prices. And this is kind of what I've been saying all along. And it's not that these guys holding 10 or more Bitcoin, they know what's happening and, they're sort of, savants of, they're trading savants. It's that these guys tend to be more patient investors and they're kind of looking to get in at the right prices and they're looking to get out at the better prices, right? So that's exactly what we're seeing. They are now acquiring as we are down at these lower prices, and they're acquiring, importantly, at an increasing rate. So it's not because we know that the bottom's here. They're acquiring now because, historically, once we're at prices, 70, 80% below the all-time high, that tends to be a good accumulation period. Now, again, your risk right now is the fact that we kind of don't know exactly what's going to happen in the economy at large. So if we continue to see the stock market crash from here, or inflation data continues to look extremely poor, then you could see that we do actually drop down lower. And I do contend that if you see that, you'll actually see that these wallets then continue to acquire at a higher rate. So these things, these wallets acquiring, why does this matter? And it's not because it has any impact on the price in the short term. It's because it has an impact on the price in the long term. Eventually, as wallets acquire more and more and more, and if they're unwilling to sell at these prices, if they're unwilling to sell at 20K, 30K, 40K, it eventually creates a supply shock. And once you get that supply shock, that is where the price starts to make its move up. So the last thing we're going to quickly do is look at these wallets holding 100 or more Bitcoin. So again, here's the price, and these are wallets holding 100 or more Bitcoin. All right. And, I'm not going to, go too in depth here. It's the same exact thing though, guys. We saw that basically through the end of 2020, these wallets were accumulating. And where did they start dumping? It was right around here once the price started to get up to around 30K, 40K, 50K. They were slowly dumping their bags until right around here. They continued to dump all the way through September. They acquired, and then they really started to, drop off a cliff as we were heading into the bear market. So what we've seen, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to go extraordinarily in depth into what's going on here, but what we're seeing is these wallets holding 100 or more Bitcoin. They have been accumulating since around the same time, since we've been at around 21,000 all the way down to around 18,000, 17,000. They have been acquiring. So we've seen that there has been an increase in these wallets from around 15,800 wallets up to around 15,863 wallets. So not a huge increase. And, once you're talking about wallets of this size, it's, can be hit or miss who you're talking about. Are these individual investors? Are these going to be subsets of an exchange wallet? So sometimes I kind of am hesitant to even look at these metrics because you can see that there's just these huge inconsistencies in the data. But regardless, what we're seeing is that there is accumulation even amongst these very large wallets holding 100 or more Bitcoin. So like I said, it's worth taking note that wallets, specifically this 10 or more Bitcoin address wallet, they are acquiring the asset now and they're doing it at an increasing rate. And to me, that is a positive sign. And that's sort of, not definitive that we're going to be at the bottom, but you kind of saw the same thing back here in 2018. They started acquiring at a rapid rate, in fact, very similar to the rate that we're seeing right now. And where did they start doing it? You'll notice that they started doing it right here, right at the market cycle bottom. That's where these guys started acquiring. All right. So when we were down here at around 3K, they started rapidly accumulating. And what are you seeing now? Now that we got down to around 20K, 17K, they have started rapidly accumulating. So again, not necessarily a short-term sign, guys, because even once they started accumulating here, notice they were accumulating from December 2018 all the way through March of 19, and the price stayed flat. But once, it stayed flat for multiple months, but then eventually that's going to catch up with the market. There's going to be a supply shock, and that is kind of the impetus to push the price forward. So long-term bullish sign in my eyes, guys. Even if we go lower, it doesn't matter. And I think that you'll just see an increased rate of accumulation even if we do. So that's it for this one, guys. Until next time. As usual, see you.